Welcome back. It's your friendly neighborhood anarchist. And I wanted to go more into depth about some of the things that I mentioned in my last video, which was a rant, and a video that I did called Evolutions of Systems and Where We're Headed. And in the last one that was a rant, I mentioned vacuums. And that's what I wanted to go more into today. Vacuums. So I've proposed certain actions of mass civil disobedience, such as dropping the dollar completely, coming up with other forms of exchange, time banks, exchange based on reciprocity and labor for time, even coupon systems, and also pulling your cash out of the banks and the stock market. And I believe, as I've said before, that the system is not broken. It is functioning as designed. And the rot that we're seeing today is because that system is failing and has, ironically, turned cannibalistic. I believe we need a new system. And what Pam Bondi has said, that if we prosecute everybody in the files, that the entire system will collapse. And I think that it should, and it deserves to. I believe that anything that can be destroyed by the truth deserves to be destroyed. And I also believe that in the Bill of Rights, in the Constitution, in the formation of the United States as it was set about, certain principles are valid. The valid principle being that we have a right to disengage from and change the current systems. So let's say mass civil disobedience takes place and everything crumbles as we know it. The government, the economic system. Let's say it becomes so cannibalistic it just eats itself up. Let's say the economy collapses because it's inherently flawed and shitty to begin with. There will be a vacuum. And there will be people who will be vying to fill that vacuum. People that are promising things like change and rectifying parts of the old system. We see how Mamdani has run and won, and what he's been doing, which is largely positive considering the system he's functioning in general. But there's things that just go to show that it's not exactly what would benefit everybody, because it's still playing by the same old rules. I mentioned how I believe Russia wants to come here ultimately in the United States, and that MAGA people will underestimate his plans because they think he can be controlled and contained. And I also mentioned how some leftists who would be open to communism, socialism, would also welcome that. And I do believe that is his ultimate goal. And while I do agree with some tenets of communism, my anarchism, my beliefs, I believe, have evolved past that. In anarchism, hierarchy is not acceptable. Authoritarianism is not acceptable. The goal is individual sovereignty and autonomy, and the freedom that brings. I believe we can have cooperation and community while also maintaining sovereignty over ourselves and our individual freedoms, as well ensuring the freedoms of those around us. Instead of small government, I believe in no government, because those systems inherently have a monopoly on violence, and the hierarchical structures will eventually lead to authoritarianism, whether it be vulgar communism or Stalinism or fascism. And the reason I'm always hammering on about dropping the dollar is that I believe as long as capitalism exists as it does, that true socialism and communism and post-scarcity anarchism will not be able to function as well as it could. My dream is a stateless, classless, moneyless, non-authoritarian, sovereign community. That's my goal. And back to Mamdani and democratic socialists and people who want to get in there to kind of tweak the system and keep it going, I think is a waste of resources and time and precious energy. Yes, the system needs to collapse, but in that vacuum, we must be very careful. The goal should be to maintain sovereignty as an individual in small communities, and to ensure that freedom is maintained within limits of tolerance, but also being aware of the paradox of that tolerance. And right now, there's a lot of shit going on that should not be tolerated for 1 second. Do I believe that certain people will vie for these positions of power, that they could be promising hope and change? Yes, that we collectively as humans are looking for a savior, somebody to tell us what to do, because it's easier, softer, more convenient. The hard part is having that individual sovereignty first, realizing your own values, your own morals, but coming to terms with those around you and agreeing to that. I think right now, most people, the majority of people, would agree that the system is fucked, that it is unfair, that justice is not being served, that pedophilia is wrong, no matter what, that all of these things are wrong. And I think that's a pretty good place to start. Maybe the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The non-aggression principle of anarchism. You don't use violence except when absolutely necessary for self-defense if you are being oppressed. Every oppressed people has that right. And forgive me for possibly not getting the exact quote, but no oppressed people have ever gained their independence by appealing to the morality of their oppressors. My worry is that the system will be changed just enough to satisfy enough people that want a savior to maintain their own comfort and convenience, but it will still be the same old system, and it will still go back to the same bullshit, if not actually worse. Or that some other authoritarianistic ideology or government or state or country would come in trying to offer us the solution. I believe in the genius that exists in this country, the diversity that exists in this country to come up with something amazing that the world has never seen, things we can only dream of. And I believe every individual has a piece of that puzzle. And I believe working together, starting out small in our own little communities, that we can put that puzzle together, that we can form something that is inclusive, that is beneficial for everyone. And I think the division is a huge distraction. The race wars, the race baiting, the gender wars, the ageism, the boomers versus millennials, like this shit. Black versus white, the Hispanics versus who, I mean, it's all bullshit. There's no war but class war. And the only ones we should be fighting is the Epstein class. Because I think that's another thing the majority of us can agree on. There should never be a reason for a billionaire to exist. Ever. No war but class war. We need solidarity. We need to realize that it's them versus us, and there's more of us than there is of them. And that's our power. The power is in the people. All the power to the people. Black, white, yellow, red, purple, pink. I don't give a fuck. How old you are, where you're from, what language you speak, what religion you are, what gender you are, who you love. They've pitted us against each other to keep their boots on our necks, to keep us running the rat race, to make them more money, so that they can do unspeakable bullshit, so that people can be unhoused and not receiving medical care and starving and this and that and the tax rate. Guys, we revolted 200 some odd years ago with a less tax rate than we have now. But now we have an opportunity to create something that includes women, that includes the diversity of all people of color, the African American population, the Latino population, the Asian population, everybody that helped build this country. People came here for a better life, and we've been nothing but fucked and then pitted against each other. We have the ability to build things scientifically, technologically, with infrastructure. We have all these wonderful foreigners who are already here doing amazing shit. Look at the Indian population. Look at these people coming from other countries who are already doctors and nurses and architects and lawyers and all this shit, engineers, and we don't give them the same opportunities unless they pay a shit ton of money and recertify and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. They're already here. And all the veterans, they said that we were never invaded. This country was never invaded on land because the fear was that there was a gun behind every blade of grass. We've suffered with school shootings, but we are one of the most armed in the world. That's a standing army right there, guys. One of the reasons we won the revolution was because of all the veterans and the people that learned during the French and Indian Wars. And they learned from the indigenous people here. They learned guerrilla warfare from them. Home turf. We need to talk to each other. We need to learn from each other. We need to talk to our indigenous neighbors. We need to protect them. We need to learn from them. We need to learn from our African American brothers and sisters that survived desegregation, that were able to implement civil disobedience and the boycotts. We need to talk to our elders. We need to learn these old ways of how to grow our own food, how to do these things. We need to bring in the rednecks and the country folk who have known for a hell of a long time not to fucking trust a goddamn government. One of the reasons MLK was assassinated was because of who he was trying to bring together. It wasn't just about desegregation and all of these things. Towards the end of his career, he was trying to amass a group of all the people. Look what Fred Hampton was able to achieve between the Latinos and the rednecks. Solidarity. And I'm not talking about torches and pitchforks and marching on Washington. Because here's the thing. If we fight like that, then they will fight back. When you fight something, you will get aggression on you too. The best way to win something like this is to opt out and make the entire fucking thing obsolete. Make it obsolete. Don't fight it. Make it irrelevant. Starve it. If we dropped the dollar preemptively before the rest of the world does, we would have control. The billionaires wouldn't be worth a fuck. Can you imagine if the majority of people holding Tesla stock dumped that fucking shit? Amazon dumped that fucking shit? The banks pull it out. There's not physically much to pull out. Pull it out. If we stopped buying off Amazon, if we stopped going to Walmart, if we shop local, if we got our groceries from our farmers, go into the farmer's market, go into small local businesses, the people you know, the ones you know where you walk in the store and they know who you are. And you know about their kids' sports teams and games and who's done what and who's had a baby and who's getting married and, you know, their lives. These are your people. And I also think that now is not the time to try to convince anyone. That decision has been made. Now is the time to build with like-minded people. Look at the Amish. Look what they can do. You people up north need to be talking to them. But you know what? They don't beat the shit out of people or jail them. They ostracize them. They make them irrelevant and obsolete. We could very much so do the same. And yes, I'm not a big fan of running over to DC with pitchforks and torches at this point. However, some of these things might be considered illegal. But I want you to remember something. Legality is not the same as morality. And the truth is that we are mortal beings, and every one of us has an expiration date. That's a fact. It's a scary fact for a lot of people. In my life, in my experiences, and with my health, I have faced that fact, and I choose to face it every day. Every day when I journal, I head the top of the page with memento mori, amor fati. Remember your death and love your fate. We all die. That is an inevitability. But what we do with that time is who we are as a person, as a soul. Do you want to keep buying shit off Amazon? Buying stuff that'll never fill that hole inside you? Do you want to watch all the TV shows and movies? Do you want to play all the video games thinking that distraction will fill the hole inside you? Do you want to stay isolated by yourself, scared of social interactions, of talking to the people around you because you think you'll be safer? Safety is in numbers. Do you want to be drunk all the time, high all the time, chasing a partner that you think will fill that hole, that void? That's not living. You know, I look like shit right now. I was out playing in my yard, getting my garden ready, my area for the garden. Sweating my ass off in the sun. It was a beautiful day. Touching dirt, touching the ground, cleaning up. That's living. Later on, I haven't taken a shower yet. Gonna go grab my buddy. He's an old codger. I love him to tears. He's got a pickup truck. And we're gonna go down into town where I saw an old dresser in a dumpster. Somebody pulled out the drawers. It's like one end is a little broken. I can fix that. We're going to pull it out, and I'm going to rig that thing to be a box for part of my raised bed. Free. Haha. Scoof around with it. I don't mind climbing in a dumpster. I'm not proud. I'm not going to chip one of my nails. Well, I might, but they're not salon done. You know? I probably smell like a foot right now. But I mean, this is living. I can take a shower later. You know, it's Saturday night. Maybe I'll go out into town and get a coffee. I don't know. I like talking to random people. I used to be terrified. I used to be shy. You get to a point at my age where you really don't give a fuck what other people think about you, and it's awesome. Life. What do you want to do with it? What do you want to stand for? failure is always a possibility. I failed so many times in my life, and I'm still going. Learned a hell of a lot. That's how you gain experience. That's how you get good at things. But I know for me, I will continue to live in a way that supports my values. I don't want to waste this life because I don't know. We never know. We never know. I could get hit by a bus before I get to make another video whenever, tomorrow or whenever, next week. Do the thing today, even if it's a teeny tiny thing. I was talking to a buddy, another old codger. I collect old codgers for some reason. And he was telling me, he wants to do what little bit that he can do to make the world a better place. And he likes to go around his neighborhood and pick up trash on the ground. Everybody can do something. I challenge you to come up with your ideas for a better system, maybe based on the old one, the best parts of the old one, but not trying to repair the old one. Something new. Something only we, Americans, could come up with that would show the world a different way. To maybe we could be the best again. It's something really, really the best. Not superficially. Not a great economy based on slavery and then wage slavery and unpaid domestic labor and illegal immigrants' labor. But making it real, making the dream real. Not the nightmare we're living in now. Not the bullshit we've been sold. But the real deal. Maybe solar punk. Technologically advanced because we're not using our resources and technology to build weaponry. But something to benefit all of us. Embracing our neighbors. Remembering what the Statue of Liberty is supposed to represent. Being kind. Not giving in to division, not giving in to distraction. I know the world is hard right now. I know it sucks. I know it's easier to want to detach and focus on something else. Maybe have an extra drink. Maybe keep smoking weed. Maybe doing whatever. Doom scrolling, whatever the hell it is. So that you don't have to face it. And maybe we all fail, and maybe everything goes to shit anyways. But I would rather die trying. I would rather fail standing on my feet, trying for freedom as a sovereign human being, than on my knees, licking a boot. Tell me about your piece of the puzzle. What do you want? Free health care, debt forgiveness for college loans, all debt forgiveness, whatever, equality for everybody, free education, secure housing for everybody, food for everybody, infrastructure that is new, that will last. Let's figure this out together. Get outside, touch some grass, and say hi to your neighbor for me. Don't let anybody distract you. Don't buy into the narrative that a savior is coming. You're the ones we've been waiting for. Catch you next time.